Good evening. Welcome to Obscure Tales of the Strange and Supernatural. I'm your host, Melissa Angel, and tonight I will be sharing for your listening pleasure the chilling and mysterious tale of the Red Ghost of Arizona. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this obscure tale of the strange and supernatural. In southern Arizona in the spring of 1883, two men left their ranch to check on their cattle. Now, some accounts say they actually left to check on their sheep, but that's really irrelevant. They left behind their wives and their children. While the men were gone, one of the wives had ventured out to get some fresh water. She left the other woman inside to watch over the children. Shortly after the woman left the house, the second woman heard the dog start barking frantically, followed by a blood-curdling scream. She rushed over to the window to see what was going on and was greeted by a horrific scene. She quickly barricaded the door and began to pray through tears of absolute terror. She was completely horrified by the scene that was taking place outside. When the men returned home, they found the second wife in the house, completely terrified, praying frantically in a corner. When they asked her where the other woman was and what she was so afraid of, she told them that she had seen the devil riding a large red beast, and she told them about the frantic screams she had heard. Rushing outside, the two men found the first wife, trampled into the ground, bloodied and bruised. The scene was horrific, and all around the woman and on her were big, huge cloven hoof prints. They had no idea what kind of beast could have created these hoof prints. The local coroner was called in to investigate the horrific scene. Now, normally, he would have assumed one of the family members did this, but because of the cloven hoof prints and upon his inspection finding large red clumps of fur, he couldn't argue with the woman's statement. Although he didn't really truly believe that it was the devil riding the beast, he was unsure of what had happened, and so on the death certificate he labeled death in some manner unknown. Now, I did try to research the names of the victims and the family and the coroner, but unfortunately I was not able to find any names tied in with these people, but there are some that pop up later on in the story. Days later, after the death of the woman, two prospectors were awakened in the middle of the night when the beast came crashing through their campsite. This caused their tent to come crashing down on them. Scrambling out of their now down tent, the prospectors heard the beast scream and the pounding of hooves. They managed to see what they thought was an impossibly tall horse crashing off into the brush. Heading to another mining camp, they relayed what had happened to them to their other prospector friends. Upon hearing this crazy tale, several men decided to return to the campsite with the two prospectors. While investigating along the bed of the creek, they found huge cloven hoof prints leading uphill. They also found long red hairs on some of the bushes. During this time, there were a lot of rumors that started to go around about this beast and its rider, and they started calling it the Red Ghost. Now, some of the rumors that were going around where one man had claimed to have seen the red beast kill and devour a grizzly bear. Another one claimed to have seen the red ghost run clear across the gorge and onto the other side. The rumors just kept piling on. It was about a month after the death of the unfortunate woman that the beast made another appearance. A rancher named Cyrus Hamblin, some accounts call him Cy Hamlin, on the lookout for stray cattle, had climbed a ridge to get a better look around. In the ravine below him, he noticed a huge red animal was moving through the brush. The hairs began to raise on the back of his neck, but Hamblin refused to turn away. He wanted to get a better look at the beast. When the beast moved out into the open space, Hamblin was surprised to see that the beast was in fact a camel. He noticed that the camel carried what looked to be a dead man upon its back. Now, Hamlin was really trusted in the community, but some people thought the fact that he was claiming there was a corpse on the camel was a little outlandish, to say the very least. But a few weeks after his encounter, the red ghost was spotted again by a group of 5 prospectors. The group made their way closer to be able to take a shot of the grazing animal. After taking their shot and missing, the red ghost tore off. As they watched the animal take off, they noticed something fall from its back. The prospectors investigated the area where the object had fallen and found a human skull. One of the prospectors described it as having flesh and hair still attached to it. The legend of the red ghost thrived until 1893, when it was shot and killed by Mizzou Hastings. The farmer found the beast grazing in his yard and killed it with a single shot. After its unfortunate death, it was confirmed that the red ghost was indeed a camel, and that there had been a corpse attached to it. They found that the leather straps that held the corpse on the camel were so tight they had caused the poor animal pain and scarring. It is believed that the pain caused by the leather straps may have driven the camel mad. Now, I know some of you are wondering, what was a camel doing in Arizona? Well, in 1855, the military had their experiment going called the camel corpse. Now, some people say it was a failure, other people think it was a success, but most of the men that were working with the camels did not like them, and that was because camels demand respect, and they are used to being treated in that manner. And unlike horses, if you don't treat them nicely, they're going to give it right back to you. And the men didn't like that because they were notorious for mistreating their horses, so they expected the camels to tolerate that kind of crappy behavior. A lot of people think that the camel that became known as the red ghost was actually one of the offspring of the camels that had been released when the camel corps was disbanded. What remains unknown and a mystery to this day is how the corpse got tied to the camel in the first place. Some people speculated that it had been a prospector that tied himself there, hoping the camel would bring him to water. And others think that there was something more sinister, especially upon inspection, that the bindings were just tied way too tightly on the corpse and the poor camel. So the mystery still stands that no one knows who this poor man was and how this poor camel ended up in Arizona on a pain and anger-filled rampage. And that brings us to the end of the legend of the Red Ghost of Arizona. If you enjoyed this tale, please hit the like button and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next obscure tales of the strange and supernatural.